The new loaded question gives us crazy accuracy options for PvP and speed, damage, and explosion perks for PvE. It might be one of the best fusions available if it can climb the mountain of great rapid fire fusions competing against it. Loaded Question is a high impact 5-bolt fusion rifle previously known for its fixed perks of auto loading holster and reservoir burst. It was the first fusion to have explosions built into the last shot, but since then, we've had a fleet of fusions added with reservoir burst stacked on top of magazine options to keep the perk going. Lucky for us, the Loaded Question brings all those tricks with it. But let's talk stats first. The stats on Loaded Question are really good. As a reprised weapon that hasn't had its stats updated, I expected Loaded Question to be behind the curve. But its 66 aim assist is second only to Mida's Reckoning, and its 52 range is second only to Glacioclasm. Middle of the road stability and handling, but the kicker here is that its +2 zoom scope has been removed. It is now a 15 zoom like all the other new fusion rifles. Glacioclasm did not have its zoom change and still sits at 16. That seems really strong over Loaded Question since Glacio has a higher range stat as well, but there are some important differences here. 1. Zoom is officially getting changed next season. They have revealed it in the TWID. Gosh, that sounds terrible to say this week in Destiny, but it's been confirmed there to come next season. So this could even the zoom playing field between Glacioclasm and the Loaded Question. Number 2, Loaded Question is Adept. Adept mods, even before the zoom change, can put it neck and neck with Glacio in terms of range or push it further than Glacio in terms of speed. Number 3, Loaded Question will now have a regular farm to obtain it, whereas Glacio will only be obtainable once a year. And number 4, if you feel like you've been learning stuff from my videos, please check to make sure you're subscribed. Sorry, that one had nothing to do with Glacio and Loaded Question, but I appreciate all of you. Okay, all those points are great for range and PvP with Loaded Question, but what about damage and PvE? In PvE, high impact fusion rifles do the most total damage out of any fusion rifle class in Destiny. That's total ammo times total damage. And yes, that's even more than rapid fire frame fusion rifles. First, thank you RokDC for the spreadsheet reference, and the link to that is in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. Amazing resource. And second, what the heck? High impacts? Now, before you freak out with this information, let's put it in the context of Destiny engagements, where you have limited time, or maybe cannot expend all your ammo, or maybe you have to go get more. In those situations, other fusion rifles will fare better. This is just how much ammo fusions can hold, how much damage it'll do with it. There is also a matter of feel. High impacts for some reason just feel bad. They are sluggish, and part of that is the reload and handling, but part of it is just the charge rate. And if that isn't fun for you, then this gun will never be a go-to. That said, I think enough people like Loaded Question in its original form that there will be a lot to love here in its new form. So let's talk about these perks. For PvE, Loaded Question has some amazing magazine perks. You have the original auto-loading holster, Overflow, and Envious Assassin. After messing around with each of these, I have to say that Overflow just feels the easiest. Auto-loading is going to limit you to a much smaller mag size, so it really comes between Overflow and Envious for me, and I've really grown to dislike Envious. I praised it on Royal Executioner for working so well with Reservoir Burst, and it does, but it has become such a pain to me to manage since it doesn't keep reloading if you swap to the weapon to use it for a second. I really dislike that, and the more I played with it on Royal Executioner, the less fun it is. There are optimal playstyles to use it this way, but the bottom line for me is it's just not fun to limit how often I take out a weapon, so that leaves Overflow. And I really like Overflow on slow reloading weapons. I use it a ton on glaives, and having it here not just for the auto reloads on special ammo pickup, but also a magazine that is twice as large as normal is amazing fuel for the fourth column. We've got the original Reservoir Burst, which will cause 25% more damage and explosions on an elimination for every shot that is over the normal magazine capacity. So Envious Assassin will give you more shots over the magazine capacity to work with. But as I mentioned earlier, Overflow is easier to manage. You'd think that would be the play here, Reservoir Burst, and for some it might be, but to me, Controlled Burst is the real star of the show here. Controlled Burst gives you 10% faster charge time and 20% more damage. All you have to do to activate it is hit every shot in a burst or get an elimination. Remember, you're dealing with large numbers here on this high impact fusion rifle. That works in its favor both ways on Controlled Burst. For speed, Controlled Burst 10% takes off a larger amount of charge time than it would on a faster charging fusion. So I think it's just a fantastic perk to have here. And I can't wait to see the implications for it in boss fights where you don't need a kill to activate it. And the extra damage continues on through the normal magazine size. The buff doesn't stop at the top of the normal mag like Reservoir Burst does. You've also got Harmony or Frenzy for damage options. I don't find Harmony to be that interesting here, but I can see someone going with Frenzy. It will just be activated during a fight and ready for you. It's not as much damage at 15%, but don't forget it still gives you 100 handling and 100 reload speed if you're in a pinch. Finally, for PvE, we've got Demolitionist and Pugilist in separate columns. That's pretty cool because a single fusion rifle kill could generate 20% grenade and melee energy for you at the same time. Always a neat combo. For PvP, we have the go-to Under Pressure. So great to see it here as it actually helps put up a fight against the other high impacts who would have the upper hand otherwise. Under Pressure gives you that 25 to 50% smaller accuracy cone size and is a huge leap over Firmly Planted's mere 20% decreased accuracy cone size with all its nerfs. Plus, with Under Pressure, you get that boost automatically right at the start of every Crucible match. In the fourth column, you have the incredible option to pair Eye of the Storm with Under Pressure. This has been found on quite a few weapons recently, including our main competitor, Glacioclasm. It's a fantastic combination that gives you a huge accuracy bump if you get low on health while charging this slow fire fusion rifle. The only other perk that interests me for PvP outside of Under Pressure and Eye of the Storm is Controlled Burst. This will be an extreme case perk as it only lasts for 2 seconds after your first burst, but I can see a version of this where you stack all charge time perks with an Adept charge time mod to do a follow-up shot that's faster than a precision frame fusion like main ingredient. You'd even have the 20% damage buff in those 2 seconds to make up for any of the charge time perks that are decreasing damage. The big problem with this is that it's only a 2-second window. But I still think it's a really interesting option that could work for a specific PvP playstyle. Okay, what are the god rolls on the new loaded question? For PvE, it's no question for me. I'm looking for Arrowhead Break for more recoil control and handling, Enhanced Battery for a bit bigger of a magazine without crashing my reload speed, Overflow for carefree reloads without balancing a perk like Envious Assassin, and Controlled Burst for faster speeds and more damage that lasts throughout the entire magazine. Unlike Reservoir Burst damage, which stops at the top of the mag. I'd look for a Charge Time Masterwork on it as it feels like a minimal damage decrease compared to the benefits of speed and how that would feel for me. Depending on the content I'm running, I'd probably stick with the Adept Big Ones mod for the Adept version, but I'd be tempted by Backup Mag or the Adept Backup Mag to get up to 16 in the magazine with this setup. Paired with some Arc subclass synergy, I wouldn't even need Reservoir Burst for the explosions. I'd be blinding with fragments and jolting with the seasonal artifact anyways. Really excited to get a roll like this myself. For PvP, the perks are easy to recommend, but the details on the charge time are not. The last column simply must be Under Pressure and Eye of the Storm for your PvP role. Controlled Burst is an option, as I mentioned in the perk section, but it will be rare that you get that perk to work for you. So going with Under Pressure and Eye of the Storm, I'm going to want to push my accuracy and amethyst cones out as far as I can get these bolts to connect the way I want them to. Full bore, Projection Fuse, and a Range Masterwork. I'll be extremely torn on using Adept Charge Time versus Adept Range on this one. Adept Charge Time will give you that small advantage in speed that Glacioclasm and other high impacts don't have, but Adept Range puts it right up there with Glacioclasm if you like that feel, especially after the zoom changes. I had one drop really close to my preferred role with Harmony and Extended Barrel instead, and I really enjoyed both of the mods I just mentioned, speed and range. Either is a fine choice, and I recommend you just play around with which one feels best for you. If you're brave, you could even try out Adept Targeting, but I feel like base 66 aim assist is plenty for this one. There's also the option of running liquid coils and putting on the Adept Charge Time mod. The Adept Charge Time mod does not take away damage, but gives you more speed. And so combined with liquid coils, it would let you fire at the same rate as a normal high impact, but 3-bolt 10 resilience Guardians. Pretty cool trick, but you're giving up a lot of range to do so, and I personally don't think that'll be worth it. It's a solid PvP fusion, but I don't think it tops any charts in that arena. At the end of the day, I believe this will be a PvE fusion for me, maybe even a go-to. I'm excited to get some rolls and maybe even make a PvE fusion tier list at some point. The damage that high impacts can put out is fascinating to me, and if you'd like to see something like that or enjoy this video at all, let me know in the comments. This has been Lego LaFlash. Until next time, GG.